Hi. There are a few things that I want to talk about. I don't want to give them a very long time. I end up doing that. So though I have written few points, I don't know whether I'll be able to stick to the points that I have written. The thing that has really caught my attention, and also because it's connected to me personally, is that around 55 to 60% Indians who had availed loans, bank loans prior to 2020, have been forced to default on paying back their loan amount. They have not been able to pay back the interest, either because they've lost their jobs or they have their salaries reduced to half, their businesses have folded up, and so on. So this number, although very huge, is also to an extent understandable in pandemic times. Understandable in the sense you know where it is coming from, not that it is justified or it could be helped, it couldn't have been helped. Those are different issues, but then this could be fathomed. However, when you look at the bigger picture, Indian banks in any case have not performed very well when it comes to condensing their non-performing assets. We, as one of the largest economies, we come only after Russia when it comes to the amount of NPAs or non-performing assets we have, when the banks are not able to make a recovery of their loans. So and why does it happen? Why does Indian banks are not able to recover the loans that it gives? Look at a few great examples like Canada, Switzerland, Korea, where they have next to no non-performing assets, very little. Plus, they don't give away loans so aggressively and almost in a predatory fashion. They are pouncing on people and asking them to take personal loans, and then bad times are sure to follow, especially when your economy is not something that you can bank on. Um, one reason is that all the countries that have performed well in terms of bank performance, their performance of their banks, is basically because they are a little risk averse. They don't aggressively chase down people and ask them to take loans, and then when they are not able to, this is the easiest route to pile up your non-performing assets. You are too aggressive, and you're keeping the rules and regulations and the terms and conditions aside just to sell away something, because this is how your salary, the banks earn, because the more loans they give away, the difference in the deposit interest rates and the interest rates that they give on their deposits and the interest rates that they charge on their loans, this is their money. So this has become quite an aggressive process when it comes to banks chasing you and giving you loans. And second thing is that most Indian banks, they charge a lot of interest rates. That interest rates are quite high, whereas, as taking example of Canada, it is 3%. So when you really have some genuine money lender, then you go for loans. And if you happen to go for loans when you have a business, hardcore business man kind of a bank, you you don't prefer such places. Nationalized banks still have lower interest rates as compared to some of the private banks in India, such as HDFC, ICICI, IDBI, so on. Yet HDFC is considered one of the best when it comes to performance, business leadership, market capitalization. But when it comes to the top 50 banks in the world, SBI has made its mark, has gotten into the list. It's still not good enough. The first few places in the top 50 banks is occupied by Chinese banks. So the idea is you have to have a compassionate touch when it comes to loan giving. Loan giving could is definitely You are into the business. Banks are into the business of making money. They are not out there for charity. Yet when it comes to handling your non-performing assets, no, you've got to have more foresight than just the tenets that we see in the restructuring of loans as it happened just now, as I spoke about. There's too much noise. Please excuse it, or if you can, basically. The second thing is, there's something else that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, when it comes to home loans, there are two interesting facts that have come forth. All those nations where wages are very low, home ownership is high. Like Romania has 97% of its people living in their own homes. India comes at the 7th place, and all those places where you earn quite a bit, you earn respectfully, you have good wages. There people don't own there in such places people don't own their own homes. Like Switzerland, one of those places where people, not only 40 to 45% people into a certain above a certain income range have their own homes. So another interesting fact about home ownership is that there is a British economist by the name Oswald. I was reading his paper. The more home ownership a country has, higher is the unemployment there. Like with every 1% increase in the home ownership, there's 1% increase in the unemployment in that particular place. That's because the mobility of the labor is affected. They don't want to leave their place. They don't want to. They are not as adventurous and risk taking when it comes to going far and away in search of good opportunities. The second reason is that many people buying houses in itself is a proof that there's a boom in the market, and whenever there is boom, there's going to be a burst as well. There's going to be a downturn as well, and that's when people will lose their jobs and they'll become unemployed. And that's why the most innovative nations, like the North European nations, there people don't own houses. What do they do then? Even the governments, they may say they want people to live in their own houses because real estate is a big contributor to the GDP. When it comes to India, real estate contributes about 6 to 7% to the GDP. So therefore government wants to keep them in good humor. So even when the realty rates are going down, they announce different schemes. They given that they will develop a certain region. They'll build infrastructure so that the rates don't come down. And what they do, they develop a certain place infrastructurally, so all the nearby places, their realty prices also increase. All in the government would want that everyone is employed, because there is more capital mobility, more innovation, more adventure, and there is a better flow in the labor movement when people don't have a house of their own. So should nobody have house of their own? They should. But what positive part of having a house is that your health improves because you're more secured. So in that case, all kinds of help and support could be given to people who want to buy a house of their own, but not in metros, in the nearby regions, so that there is a certain security. There is a certain security that you've got a house, so if nothing goes well, you can go and live in that house. But at the same time, you should avoid being tied down to one place just because you've got a house there. So people should be buying houses, but in far and away places, and in the metros, where the reason why people buy houses, which negatively affects their attraction as a labor. The reason is because the rents are quite high, so they end up buying house. They end up buying house, and if they are buying house during an economic boom, they are going to be at one point in time or the other a defaulter, because when the burst period, economic burst strikes. So there are two key points that I want to make. First is, when it comes to buying your own house, buy a house, but not exactly in a place where the property prices are very high, because you're going to be, and if you have a lot of years in front of you, you are relatively young, you buy a house somewhere in the suburbs, or a little far, or in the rural or semi-rural region, or semi-urban region, because that can give you a security. At the same time, what the government can do is to make the tenancy laws very attractive, as it happens in Switzerland. They're pro tenants. When the rents are lower than the EMIs that you would pay for the house, your as it is going to be attracted to more being a tenant, because you're going to be mobile. There's going to be a greater mobility in your approach. You're going to be more risk taking. You're going to have more exposure. Okay, this was the first point I wanted to make. The second point is, if you really, I'm talking to actually nobody, but I hope I someday could speak to a person who would embody what banks are. Keep the interest rates low if you really want to give an impression that you want non-performing assets to reduce. So all in this restructuring time, you could have asked people to just pay a nominal amount, which would be as a token of their good intention of paying back their remaining part of their loan after the restructuring period ended, rather than making it very difficult for them. Duck sunset time. All right, I hope I made a point. Or sometimes I think that it's such a powerful force. Too much goes on behind the scenes, and me or anybody else speaking can be nothing more than freezing our voices. I'm freezing my voice, whether anyone else hears it or not. I'm freezing my voice through this blessing of technology. Right, bye.